one of the houses we bought, the people had nowhere to go, and they were literally selling because they were in desperation. They needed the money, and they had no place to go. So helping them find somewhere to live was very gratifying. It was like I'm not only helping them, financially, giving them money they need, but putting them into a place where they can actually start again and live a life.
10 to 15,000.
$500,000 in assignments.
$150,000.
So where are you located right now?
I'm in Chesapeake, Virginia.
Oh, nice. So how long have you been there?
I moved here, with my wife. We moved here the end of 2018.
Okay, awesome. So tell me a little bit about your real estate journey.
Well, I've been investing in real estate for many years, and originally from Australia. We were purchasing properties in Australia, and then we started looking at US property around 2010, 2011. We purchased our first property in the US from Australia while we were living in Australia. And we then, I think it was around 2015, we sold that one property we had. And then in 2016, I bought two properties in Ohio, in Cleveland, Ohio.
Oh, nice.
They were really bad properties. They were off the MLS. We weren't doing any marketing or anything back then. Of course, we were working from Australia, so just the time zone difference was difficult enough. But we purchased two properties and we fully rehabbed them and got them rented out, and we still own those two properties, and they're rented, and they're great properties. And then when we moved here at the end of 2018, we went to a couple of seminars. I was searching for a mentor, basically, and we went to some real estate seminars and conferences, and we were trying to learn how to wholesale and flip and just trying to establish a strategy. Really, just didn't really know what we wanted to do, but knew that real estate was the goal, right. And was going to be our future and our retirement, basically. And that's essentially what I had in mind, was if I could build up a number of properties and have continual income, then I could eventually retire. And so I got a job, and I was working full time, and I was doing the real estate on the side. And our mentor was promoting, amongst many other marketing strategies, promoted driving for dollars, and said the easiest way to do it is DealMachine. So I got the DealMachine app, and I started using it, and I went for one drive and put in, I don't know, 50, 100 properties, and I knew straight away this was not for me. Driving for dollars was just too much hard work. So I studied the app, and I was sitting there on the desktop app, and I started clicking a whole lot of properties and finding all this information that DealMachine offers and about the property, and that I could just send postcards straight off my desktop, and I didn't need to go and drive and look at the house or anything. They would even put in the Google photo from Google Maps of the house, and I thought, this is beautiful. I can add 2, 3, 4, 500 properties in an hour or two and get these postcards out. And I did that, and then lo and behold, the phone started ringing. It was it was like, yeah, I want to sell my house. I'm like, oh, okay. Now what do I do? So rang the mentor and said, hey, come and help me out. And And eventually we started buying properties, and we wholesaled some properties, and the marketing channel has been fantastic. I know in the app we show that we've sold 5 properties, or we've purchased 5 properties, but we've done more than that with DealMachine. We've I know we've wholesaled like 6, and we still own probably 4 or 5 that we've bought out of DealMachine. So it's been fantastic. It's you know, um, when you reached out to me to talk, it was like, well, if there's one app I'm going to actually promote, it would be that one, because that's the one where we've made most of our money from. So
Well, I appreciate it
that's
because
how we
that's
felt.
it. That's amazing. That's amazing though. So you just like what is your I have so many questions. Where do I begin? What does your mail sequence look like? How many times were you starting to get calls off the first card, or was it after like, 2, 3? What did you see?
So our mentor had said that if you put in about 200 properties into the app, you'll get somewhere between 5 and 20 phone calls, depending, and hopefully out of that you'll close
Right.
one. So I thought I was looking for equity, and I think that's part of the reason why I didn't necessarily like actually driving, because I'd drive and I'd see a property and I'd snap a photo, and then I'd try and research to see if I actually wanted to send a postcard to while I was sitting in the car. And although you can do that, it's very time consuming, and it's cumbersome. And so of course now, whenever I do drive for dollars, I just find the property in the app, and then click it, and then worry about it later. So we can add a whole lot more properties. So basically, I've learned how to use the app. If that makes sense. Bit slow, but so yeah, I was trying to do about 200 was my goal. Nowadays, now that I do real estate full time and I'm not working and all of that, I try to add about 200 properties a week. So I've got a little reminder in my calendar for Monday morning. Virtually the first thing that I do is I open up the DealMachine app, and I try and add about 200 properties a week for mailing.
Oh my gosh. And do you have the same postcard going out multiple times to these properties?
Yeah, I use 2 postcards, one very rarely, and the other one just is the same one over and over again. We send it to every property that I pick. It goes once a month for 6 months, so every 30 days, 31 days. So once a month for 6 months, and hopefully in that time they'll give us a call. And then I've got so one is just a general, we buy houses, we pay cash, and there's a picture of me on the postcard, and and a picture of the house. So the Google photo that you get from maps, and a lot of people ring up, and you get all the usual take me off your list, and how'd you get a photo of my house, and all of these things. But occasionally, often people ring up and say, hey, I do want to sell my house. I guess part of the problem with it is that they get so many postcards and they don't know who to ring, and so they ring half a dozen investors, and so we're up with up against competition. When I first started, that was only a couple of years ago. So the growth of DealMachine in this area has been tremendous. But when I first started a couple of years ago, just sending out mail, I think I was maybe one of the only people sending out DealMachine postcards at the time. So they'd call me and not get any other investors. But now it's quite competitive. So the DealMachine's obviously doing very well.
Well, and I'd love to show you how to like make your postcard not look like it's coming from DealMachine too. So that way, if you can differentiate yourself more. But your picture, I love that you put that on there because that's like I heard so many people say they've switched from like a logo to a picture of themselves and it like changed it because the person actually puts the name to a face and feels more comfortable calling them because they know who they're kind of talking to.
It actually makes a difference when I knock on the door too, and I go in.
Oh,
They they see it's me, and it's almost like they know me. It's it's quite surreal sometimes, but it's good. It's great.
so you were talking about how you guys were trying to figure out your real estate strategy. There was wholesaling, there was, buy and hold, there was, so what does that strategy look like for you now? I know you said you still wholesale some. Do you guys have I guess what does that strategy look like for you guys when you know you're going to wholesale or you're going to hold?
So my strategy at the moment, we probably buy properties. My strategy at the moment predominantly is flipping.
Okay.
And I think that's mainly driven by the market. It's been a seller's market. So it's just made sense to put the property on the market and offload it and sell it after we've fully rehabbed it. The properties that we wholesale are few and far between nowadays. We mainly flip most of our properties and keep some of them, which we sell via seller finance.
Okay.
So I don't have, apart from the two that I've still got in Cleveland, I don't have any other rentals.
Okay.
All the properties that we own are long term, are in long term loans, and then we've sold those through seller finance.
Oh, okay. And now, are you
Yeah.
purchasing in like your market specifically that you're in, or because you're doing it virtually, are you doing it like through the whole US?
No, I concentrate on my little area in Virginia. If I can't drive to it, within an hour, then it's out of our area, and I don't chase it. And I've done that. I've done that probably purposefully for a couple of reasons. One was I was working full time. I had a full time job, so we built up to over 10 properties that we hold, and we flip. We've got 2, 3, 4 properties that we've got going at any one time. So and with a full time job that was quite demanding. I used to start at 7 and finish at 5 in the afternoon. Um, I could either duck out and look at a property during lunch, or it would be after 5, or the weekend, Saturday, Sunday, and that was my time to work the real estate. So as I love my sleep, I try not to, or tried at the time not to expand outside of Hampton Roads. But the Hampton Roads area is so big. There's so many people, and the movement of people because of the federal government in our area. The movement of people is huge. I can't see us expanding outside of this area for quite some time. It'll be a long time before we start expanding beyond our
Well, I
area.
think that also like speaks to the area, so the sellers probably feel more comfortable talking to you and selling to you because you are local.
Yeah, yeah. The fact that I tell them, I live in Chesapeake. Most of our houses that we buy are in Chesapeake, Norfolk, and Portsmouth. They're 20 minutes from each other, 20 minutes drive. We have some in Hampton and Newport News. In fact, I went under contract today with one in Newport News, which is just over the bridge.
Congrats! Yeah.
So and the only reason why I don't mention Virginia Beach, we've done one house in Virginia Beach in all the time we've been here. It's just such a competitive market. I'd love to do more in Virginia Beach, but it's just so competitive, and quite expensive, so it just hasn't fallen our way. It's not that we're not looking, but it just hasn't fallen our way. So
What I have to ask you this because I've talked to many people who have done flips or are interested or whatever, but I've heard consistently there has to be some like you have to semi like flips to keep doing them because they can be such a pain. Like what are your like what do you love and what do you hate about flipping?
what I love is the transformation, and the transformation was something that I never even thought. Sorry, I got into this for money. It wasn't for anything else. There was no other reason to get into it. It was just purely, I want money. Um, what I found is that I absolutely love it. I love the process of buying the property and helping the people. I never thought I would get, so much enjoyment out of that. Um, one of the houses we bought, as an example at that point, one of the houses we bought, the people had nowhere to go, and they were literally selling because they were in desperation. They needed the money, and they had no place to go. So helping them find somewhere to live was very gratifying. It was like I'm not only helping them, financially, giving them money they need, but putting them into a place where they can actually start again and live a life. So that was good. I've declined purchasing houses because the people had no strategy, and I just felt like I was going to leave them homeless. And I just won't do that. Like I said before, I love my sleep. I just want to sleep at night and know that I'm doing the right thing. So I don't. One of my first questions to people is, "What are you going to do when you sell? Where are you going to go?" That's one of the. For some reason, it's quite important to me. Um, and then once we've got the house, the design aspect of it, what can we do to it? What are we going to do? How's it going to look? What's the flow? What's the colors? What's the theme of the house? All these things you see on HGTV that as a guy, you think, oh my God, just rehab the house and get on with it. But the women love it. But I actually start loving it. You go in and you can see through all the clutter and see through all the mess and think, wow, this house can be really nice and a place that someone can absolutely fall in love with. And then working with the GC and sometimes the designers and architects and structural engineers and all of these people trying to create um, a product that is going to be beautiful. Um, it's an amazing process. I love that. We've got a really good general contractor that we rely on and trust and love, and he's fantastic, fantastic person, good operator, and a good bunch of people that work for him. And we have total trust. So when a house is in rehab, we've rehabbed the houses, and I have not been to them during the rehab, not walked into and gone at the end and just created a checklist of a list of things that I just want corrected, and they go in and fix them. And now that I don't work full time and this is my full time job, I'm spending more time at the houses and going into them and seeing them and watching the transformation. And little strategies that I want to put in place is to create those videos and things of the transformation, so that in a minute you can see a house go from an absolute mess to absolutely beautiful and things like that. So we've got plans for that. The thing I hate is the process of putting it on the market. Once it's done, the real estate agents are great. I love real estate agents, and I love our lawyer and our title company and all of that. They're all fantastic. They do great work. But my God, the process with the city and the inspections and the loan officers, and the mortgage companies, and like, I'm just trying to sell a house, and these people want to buy it, and they want to, and it's just a house in the sense that I know it's a big purchase, and it's the biggest purchase that most people ever make, but we do this every day, all the time. There's hundreds of them happening every day. We should be able to get this process easy. If somebody's approved for a loan, they should be approved and just get the loan and buy the house. I mean, it shouldn't be such a big process. But our buyers go through hell trying to just get this house, and it appraises right. And I mean, we virtually do an appraisal before trying to determine the sell price, so we know what it's going to appraise.
Right.
And it's not done by an appraiser, but it's done by people who know what they're doing. And so, when we list a house for 250, we know it's going to appraise for 250. And so, the banks and all of those people should be comfortable that, all the checks and balances are in place, and these people are pre-approved. In other words, they've got income, they can pay, their credit score's okay. So what's the hold up? And every single time there's a hold up, there's a delay, there's a problem, oh my God. It's just, that's the part.
That is something I haven't heard yet. And I'm glad, because I was going to ask you what that process was like. And now I don't have to, because I can tell that now I know it's the worst part of it. But like, how did you, do you like have a go-to real estate agent that you only list with, or do you like rotate between people, or?
We rotate between people only because, sorry, I've got probably 3 or 4 that we deal with constantly, and we rotate through them. So what I do is, if the real estate agent helps me buy the property, then I list with them. So they've done some work up front to help me in terms of purchase. So they do things like comps, telling me about the area, maybe even being involved with the purchase itself if we're buying it off the MLS or something like that. So they've helped me in some way to actually buy the property. But the biggest thing is that if they've helped me with determining an ARV, then they've done some work, they've put some effort in. But on top of that, the pressure is on them that if they give me an ARV of 250,000 and I say, right, if I buy this property, we're going to list it for 250,000, it's up to them to actually sell it. So the pressure's on them to get it right. It's kind of that the backhander of you help me out, I'll help you out down the line with listing it, but you've got to do some actual work and get this right, not just throw some numbers up in the air and hopefully one will stick, because that kind of strategy doesn't work. So,
right.
So that's what we do. So the agents we work with predominantly are the ones that help us out to buy it, and then they get the listing.
That's so nice. I mean, just to make such a great relationship with them, and then that also incentivizes them to show you houses that you may want.
Yeah, exactly right. Exactly right. Particularly if they want to increase their listings, which most agents do. They want more. The more listed properties they get, the better it is for them. So so those few that we work with continuously are continuously looking for properties for us to buy, and then help us go through the process.
This goes along with like listing and stuff. Are you seeing, I mean, we see all the news about the market shift and everything like that. Are you seeing more days on the listing, like on your house is sitting there for more days? Jeez.
I know what you're trying to say. Yes. Yes, definitely. It was almost like you saw it with the interest rate rises. the market just, how can you explain, almost hit this brick wall and just changed. So we had a property on the market, and like everybody else was getting, we got 10 offers, and 9 of them were over asking price, and they were all good. And then it was like 2 weeks later, we put a property on the market and no offers. Like, it took a week to get an
I was
offer.
just gonna say, do you know, like, if you were to guesstimate, what's your average days on market now for your properties?
To go under contract at the moment, it's probably still around 14
Okay.
this time. It takes a couple of weeks before we get it under contract, and I can see that pushing out to maybe a little bit longer, maybe 3 weeks in the in the near future. I don't know what the medium and long term holds. What I found really interesting about the market moving forward is that because of all this inflation and everything that's happened in the market, I think prices are going to stay high. I don't see, and I could be wrong, but I don't see a big price drop. If there's going to be a price drop, it might be, worst case, sort of 5-10%. I can't see it dropping, dramatically. But what I do see is, because the US hasn't been processing foreclosures and short sales for the last 2 years, I think there's going to be a bit of a glut of those coming onto the market. But a lot of retail buyers can't buy those houses.
Right.
So as soon as the termite and moisture guy goes, or the people go under the house and have a look and they see, damage, most lenders will not lend to the buyer, on the hope that they're going to fix those things. They want somebody, professional to go in and actually fix those properties, and then the retail buyer buys them all fixed. So I think it's kind of really unique. I think there's going to be a great opportunity for investors to buy a little bit lower than we probably have in the past, but still sell at the current retail prices, which, for the first time ever, it might be a good time to be an investor, as opposed to just, being driven by, totally by the market. It might actually be a good time to invest. So I think it's a good time for flippers. I'm not sure. I think the market change will probably see a lot of the fly-by-night wholesalers and some of those people leave the industry. It's not necessarily a bad thing. It's not necessarily good either. So I think just the number of foreclosures and short sales going on the market through real estate agents will increase, and so the opportunities to buy as a flipper will increase, and then we'll actually see some decent margins, which we do anyway, but we may see some bigger margins in time to come, which would be nice.
I was about to say, consistency here. If we keep having those nice margins, everyone's happy.
Well, that is what you do it for, ultimately.